up, Will?
Hey, what's up, Will?
You
How's
doing
y'all?
alright?
When'd y'all roll up in here?
I mean, we just
got
came
here.
in. We just got here.
Okay.
We came to see you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why you all the way over there, man?
Yeah,
You know,
man.
Black Panther was, tonight. I mean, like all
Yeah,
we all
yeah,
saw it, but I
I
mean, like
saw
still, we went to go see it again.
Yeah. I said some stuff when I walked out, and
Well, yeah,
it got
we
dark.
we remember dark.
Dark? Why dark?
I had to get out of there.
What are you talking about, Will?
The
movie was great. What are you talking
Oh,
about?
it was good.
I mean, like, I personally like, the technology and the costumes. I mean, like, didn't you
Yeah, I
think it
love
was
the
good?
technology. That suit was on point.
Right?
Like, and the scenery. Like
Right,
that,
the scenery
the waterfall
was
scene.
beautiful.
Oh
It
my,
was beautiful.
oh my goodness.
Yeah, I agree totally. Like their use of culture turned out
Right.
really well.
Yeah.
Not just like in the visual aspect, but they did a lot of incorporations of like African to African American relations and everything. It felt
did.
felt really real. Felt
It
really
did.
real.
It felt
it
so
Yeah,
truly
yeah,
did.
yeah.
I did- I mean,
I
you
figured.
over here looking like you scared to death of something.
Yeah, cause I had some issues with my phone.
Issues.
Like,
What you
what
talking
are you
about, man?
talking about? Because, I mean, like,
Here we go.
I
Here we
think,
go
like, the
again.
soundtrack went well, it fit, it connected everything together. The music was phenomenal.
That music, I was rocking in my seat the whole time.
Can
like,
you
I was,
even remember, like, any of the other Marvel films connecting the picture with the soundtrack like that?
No.
Because I can't.
No, you're definitely right there. It's probably the best example of how soundtrack actually helps to elevate the story,
Right?
tell what's going on. Yeah, I can agree with that.
And the hype, oh my gosh, you see everybody in the theater, they were going
man,
crazy.
there was people dressing in dashikis, like all type of colors.
Yes.
Like there was this dude in the suit, had
Came
the
in the
thing looking like somebody
headdress,
coming to America.
everything.
It was
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it really was.
I mean, even the storyline, like, it was just, like, so direct and everything. It fit.
I didn't think of a dull moment.
I couldn't either. It was very entertaining.
Yeah. That story.
What about
What's-
the story, Will?
What's
So,
wrong, man?
Look,
It seemed like you got some differences towards this movie.
okay. All right. Okay. I've got one major complaint. Just one.
Just one?
Just
Just
one?
one.
Okay.
Just
Well,
one.
what is it? I'm sure it's nothing
go
big.
ahead.
Come
What
on.
is it?
It's the story.
Like,
It's
the whole story?
Yeah, okay, all right. Here's the thing. So, like you guys were saying, the story is very streamlined, and that's really cool. The
Right.
story's told really well, and I think that's a really cool thing.
Right.
Okay.
Simple stories can be very effective, and I think this movie proves that.
Mhm.
The issue is the elements that they set up in the story are way too big for what they're actually used within the story. You said that there's no real low in the movie, but
Right.
is there a really significant high in the movie either? Like, is there one thing that T'Challa specifically does as a protagonist that's better than any other specific instance in the movie? It's cool that he has, like, a really consistent type of story going on, but at the same time, he has no real inner turmoil because his real epiphany moment came in Civil War. He has
That's
no
true.
outstanding moment in the movie
Okay.
other than what's just predictable of the point of getting from point A to point B so that the story can keep going on. It's
Yeah, I can see that.
Okay.
kind of like the story is so simple that it doesn't warrant a lot of the bigger elements within the movie. And that's just T'Challa, who, unfortunately, I'd have to say, is the least interesting person in the movie because he doesn't have so much turmoil going on versus other characters that do. And even still, they're not elevated. They just kind of come down so that T'Challa can be better in the movie than them.
I can understand what you're talking about because I didn't really see any growth
Yeah.
from him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no real, like, specific instance of growth, of personal growth or anything. There's a lot of questions that the movie opens itself up to, too. The issue with having a streamlined movie is that specifically a lot of things are told straightforward and you just have to accept them.
Okay.
And
I gotcha.
versus having a movie with a lot of high and low points, your mind like fills in the gaps between those high and low points. There's not really a high to low in this movie, so there's no real place for you to fill in the blanks of what's supposed to be happening. The movie just tells you. The issue is the movie goes from A to B to C to D so quickly that basically what happens is you come up with a few questions that don't ever actually get answered. But I wouldn't say that the fault of the story is that those questions exist, because those are like personal questions that you're asking for yourself to help elevate it for yourself. Yeah. The issue is that all around the movie opens itself up to having a lot of those questions, and while it doesn't necessarily detract, that's just a factor that kind of brings the overall thing down. I do have to say though, with it being a streamlined story, the runtime feels so short that you don't really think about those questions until like later on.
I didn't even know like the movie was gonna be like halfway over until we got to that point. I was just sitting there. I was like this. I was like this.
It's really engaging. It's a really engaging story. It pulls you in. There's a lot of really good elements to it. Yeah. I just, in terms of R rating, I would have to say that it's a lower end of a must see, like a 4.6, 4.7 out of 5.
Out of 5?
Like, because we only have like 5-star ratings. Like, if I had to give it like a letter scale rating, I would say that it's an A-. It's got all the elements in there. It just doesn't use all of the elements to the fullest potential of what they set up those elements to be.
Yeah, I mean, I can see you doing it in A-, like almost like at the edge of a must-see, but I would personally just say it is a must-see just because of the topics that arise from the conversation. Like you're talking about with all the questions. I didn't really realize that I had these many questions until you brought up certain points. That's so, fine. It's a must-see from that standpoint. But it was very entertaining. I really liked it.
It was very entertaining. I give it a must-see as well. Mm-hmm. That, for me personally, I'm a Black Panther fan, and I've been waiting for this movie.
Yeah, I can see you.
Yeah, I got the mask, got the shirt, even got the cup. Like, man, it's dope. Nah, man, but literally, there's somebody
T'Challa ain't happy with what you said. Will he coming to knock you out?
I think there's someone with a pitchfork or a staff waiting outside for you. Yeah, like I heard some scratching near the door. I'm trying to figure out why you're near the window anyway. Like, isn't that the closest thing that could...
Here we go. Get him now.